Ahead on Trojan Huddle, the Washington Huskies handed USC an unexpected early season loss. What does Pete Carroll have to say about his quarterback situation? We also talked to defensive coordinator Rocky Sato about his impenetrable run defense. All this and more on Trojan Huddle. Welcome to the first ever episode of Trojan Huddle, your inside access to all things USC football, alongside my colleagues David Sobera and John Adams. I'm Chris Brees, your host. In fact, they can get that margin back up in the pluses. Moving on now to a season outlook, guys. It seems like every year you expect this SC team to go undefeated, and maybe this year it may be unfair to say this team's going to go undefeated. We mentioned all the inexperience, especially at quarterback. The season outlook here, you got Cal coming up next week. You still got Washington State this week. Is there a way for USC, John, to still be able to run the table and possibly go to the national title?
There's no way. There's no way at all. At the beginning of the year, I would have told you the same thing. This team is not a national championship team. They don't have the quarterback. They have the offense. They have the big playmakers. They don't have the defense to take them all the way. This is not a national championship team. Oklahoma does have the defense. Oklahoma is a great team. They have the offense. They have the keys there. But Texas has everybody coming back. I mean, Texas, Colt McCoy, he's been impressive for the start of this year, but he's going to be a phenomenal end-of-the-year type person. The big game's going to be Texas and Oklahoma. When they face off, I think that's going to decide who's going into the championship game. And no one from the Big 12 North is going to put up a fight against either Oklahoma or Texas. But at the end of the year, I think Texas is going to end up playing for a national championship.
And the big thing about these Big 12 teams, and actually the SEC teams too, they can afford one loss throughout their season, especially since everyone coins them as the two top conferences to beat. You can get through that schedule with a loss, and if you're a high-profile team like a Florida, an Alabama, even an Ole Miss, who's now in the top 5 as well, you can still make that national title. Same with the likes of Texas and Oklahoma. I don't know if Oklahoma State could exactly be in that realm as well. What are your thoughts, John, on the fact that the Big 12 and the SEC get so much respect? Because if you lose a game in the Big 10, and most likely if you're USC now and you've lost a game in the Pac-10, you say they're out of it. So do you think it's fair that these these Big 12 teams and these SEC teams are given this one-loss freebie?
Yeah, I think it's fair because part of the issue is that these presidents of these conferences aren't playing a championship game. You talked about the Big 10 and the Pac-10. They don't have a championship game. They can't play at the end of the year, get those points.
Still ahead on Trojan. You can tell how much this secondary loves Taylor Mays, and you can tell how much this team wants him to be out there. What does he bring to the field that no one else in college football can bring?
Fear. I mean, he brings fear to I was down on the field the other day standing next to Will Harris and Taylor Mays, and both of them are the biggest secondary that I've seen out there. And he just strikes fear into opposing wide receivers coming across the middle. He's going out there to knock someone's head off.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he just looks like a linebacker.
SMU at home in overtime. Taking a look at this week's game, guys, Washington comes into town. You don't expect them, John, to put up much of a fight if you're an SC fan. So from a fan's perspective, why is this a good game to get the quarterback's feet wet?
Because you're coming off a loss. Pete Carroll does not lose 2 games in a row. Mm-hmm. The other thing is you got a lowly opponent. You can open that up. You're not really playing for the national championship, I don't believe, anymore. So you need to get your rookie quarterbacks as much experience as possible for the years coming up. And so you're going to go into this and you're going to out-athlete them and you're going to throw the ball. And Pete Carroll talked all about being balanced, but you could throw that out the window. Pete Carroll just wants to throw the ball, and score a ton of points.
Have you been as surprised as I have that C.J. Gable hasn't seen the field much?
Yeah, it's quite surprising. I mean, you got Bradford coming in a few carries a game, but you have McKnight and Johnson getting about 10 carries a game. Quite surprising that Gable hasn't seen the field.
But who do you take the ball from to give to C.J. Gable?
That's true. I
mean, Stephon Johnson's doing great. I mean, everybody that's running the ball, when Alan Bradford comes in there, he's just running people over. C.J. Gable's got to find his place on this team, and right now it's not in the backfield.
On the other side of the